Hey everyone, it's weekend wind down with Nancy. I'm ready with my wine. Today I have my Roanoke Vineyard. Can you see it? Roanoke Vineyard. It's called Color Field. I am I am hoping I have on today Katie Titi. If you're on yet, ask to come in. I'll see if I can take a look. We have a great topic today. While I am waiting, please share. We're going to have a great topic, and let me go to my Facebook on my computer and share it on my other pages. Aha, there's Katie. Let me bring you on, Katie. Invited Katie. Let's see if it works. And again, I'm at my computer as well. There you are.
Hello, Nancy. How are you?
I'm great, Katie. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. It's kind of funny the way we connected. I made a very polarizing post on my Facebook page, which I never usually do. And I saw you starting to interact, and I started looking at your Facebook page, and I thought, I love your specialty. You know what? I just want to make sure I share it on my other. And, reached out to you. Somebody had canceled on me because of other obligations, and I thought I'd love to have you on. So why don't you tell, while I go and share on my other pages from my computer, and if you're near a computer, do the same, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. My name is Katie Titi. I'm a love and relationship coach, and I'm absolutely really excited to be here today. I do what I do because I envision people in love changing the planet. I believe love is going to change the planet. Couples on an individual level, then the couple level, and then the group level. That is what we really need. So the topic that we have today is really, really important to dig into, because it's very much related to that. What we're lacking right now is a society that's going to get us where we need to go.
Absolutely. And you know what? I work with primarily entrepreneurs. As you know, we had discussed it, business owners, solopreneurs, interior designers, other coaches, and businesses of all kinds. And it is interesting to me that often they have gone through something in the past that has created this victim mentality, and it's so hard for them to break out of it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how you help your clients break out of it. What causes it? What sometimes are the benefits of being in the victim mentality, which I think is really important to address. And then how do you suggest to them they break out of it? And what is your story? What got you into this?
Well, it's interesting you ask, because I believe my story is what actually really helps my clients. Sometimes it takes one person stepping forward and saying, hey, I've been there, to really give other people permission to do the same thing.
Definitely.
I know what it's like to be a victim. I studied it for many years. And so it's really, as you said, it serves a purpose and it doesn't serve a purpose at the same time. What it serves is, being in a victim mode or mentality is like your ego's way of keeping yourself safe. But that being said, it can hold us back a lot. And, if you're talking to a client, that could be holding them back from the relationship of their dreams, the job, the business of their dreams, because they're just so afraid to speak up for themselves and anticipating that they're not going to be able to get what they want, or that they will be attacked or will be bullied, actually ends up manifesting exactly that. And a lot of times, like you said, you might have a client who has had many experiences, maybe in childhood, that have made them believe that they are a victim. But
Right.
Let me tell you something. We each have victim and bully inside of each and every one of us.
I believe that.
Yes. And so part of this is that digging into that, because what I'm seeing right now is that there's a lot of people who are noticing bullying. They're saying they're anti-bully, but they're shaming it without actually asking the questions. They're not digging deeper to get to the bottom of this issue. Right? And so you have this victim bully kind of scenario going on, but really each and every one of us has both of those inside of us. And to just dig deeper is really what we need to do to understand it so we can actually fix it instead of just saying, that's wrong, don't do it. Why is it happening?
Right.
Right.
Right. Well, let me just ask everyone who's watching now, if you could share on your pages, if you feel this is a topic that would benefit your audience, as Joe Hecker taught me to do this type of Facebook Live. He always says sharing is caring. And I'm Nancy Ganscover, business coach, and it's weekend wind down for me. And I know it's earlier for you, Katie.
I know, it's tempting. I have my wine glass, but no wine yet.
Okay, that's okay. You know what? I've had people who are actually in the morning being a guest. It's asking, who's asking, do you want to tag Kate Grunke in this video? Can you see the comments? I don't know that person.
Oh, I just see one comment, so I haven't seen that yet.
She wants me to tag her. She said tag, so I'm going to tag her. Thank you. So, let me know that you guys can hear us, and that have you experienced this where sometimes, I know I have, listen, we've all gone through things, and occasionally, and I still go through things, I sit there and go, you know what, I just can't do anything about this. This is happening to me, and I can't do anything about it. And I tend, because of years of working on it, to be able to snap out of that pretty quickly. But like you said, kind of like sitting in it and recognizing it. So how would somebody recognize if they have that victim mentality? I mean, I recognize it when I see it, but if they're not seeing themselves, how would they recognize it?
That is such a good question, Nancy. So like you kind of hinted to there, it begins with awareness, right? That is really the beginning step in any personal development work, and especially this. It's like knowing and being aware of your thoughts. If you frequently have the thought, for example, I have to, I'm busy, all these obligations, and any thoughts that might be, resentful or in kind of an energy of powerlessness, that's when you're in victim mentality. And so one thing you can do to switch that up actually really quickly is when you notice yourself seeing something to the effect of, I have to, say, I get to. Because if you think about it,
I like that.
See, I get to, or even if you want to like stretch yourself, I get to. Or
I get to.
Yeah, because you end up changing the way you think about things, and you are really blessed too. If you think about it, there may be an activity that you are doing that someone else maybe want to do, or maybe a few years down the line you'd be like, wow, I really miss doing X, right? Or maybe it symbolizes something that is supporting someone you love or you care about, right? Let's talk about things that we have to do. Like, I have to take out the garbage. I don't like taking out the garbage, but I get to, because I get to have a clean, tidy, healthy home.
Oh, that's a little bit of a stretch for me, but.
But if you think about the end game, what's the vision for why you're doing it?
It's true. And if you weren't able to take out the garbage,
yeah,
right? It's like kind of being grateful for movement every morning. You know what? That you're able to move and you're able to do what you want. But let's even bring it deeper too. Like, I know a lot of my clients are moms, right? And I'm a mom. I have a 24, 22, and 18-year-old, but I went through those years that it was like, well, I've got to drive them here and I've got to drive them there, and I'm the taxi. And now at this age, although my parents are far away, there are a lot of people who live near their parents, and they've got to help their parents, and they have to take it to the doctor, and they have to live with them now, and they have to feed them. And that crunch all the time, it's, if you switch it to what you said, I get to do this. I really, it's amazing, because even me saying it, I really feel like it's a privilege that I have them here still, and that I'm able to be in their life, and that you're right, maybe years from now, instead of resenting those years, I got to do that, and someday I won't get to do that anymore.
Absolutely. It's a big switch, and I love what you just said there, because it does symbolize what we have going on here, which is life is finite. We are finite beings, and so looking back on all of these experiences, you might look back and say, oh my gosh, someone told me a story once, and it was about a man who was on his deathbed, or he was older and he was retired. I believe maybe he wasn't on his deathbed, but he was older and he wasn't working anymore. And he said something to the effect of that, you know, he missed traffic because it meant he was going to work.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was really profound because most people hate traffic.
Yeah.
People hate being stuck in traffic, but what that represented was his vision of what he had, which is what his purpose was, his career, his job. So.
It's really a huge mind shift. Any other tricks like that? I love that because I always tell my clients, you know, when they come to me and I have a problem and I don't know how to fix it. I'm like, okay, let's not call it a problem anymore. And I know I can get very annoying about this, but you know what? You have an obstacle. And what do you do with an obstacle? You go over it, you go around it, you go through it, you figure it out. And when you start to use the word obstacle, your brain shifts to finding a solution rather than problem is finite. Like I have a problem and I'm done. Like I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
So those brain shifts are so important. And talk about like with the victim mentality, how they always talk negative sometimes. Like it seems to be their whole narrative in their life is, oh my God, I have this going on. And oh my God, I have that going on. And again, I've been there. I had 3, you know, kids who were sick at times. And I would be like, oh my God, I'm always exasperated. And I wish I would have had those mind shifts back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Its language is very powerful. And it is simply a mind tweak, right? If you've ever been to a yoga class, right, they always say, you know, thank your body for what it was able to do today. And this I get to versus I have to, that can be very, very powerful. I love what you said about changing the language with your clients around, you know, problem versus obstacle. See, if you look at these experiences as information instead of this like gloom and doom thing that's like effing up your life, it's a big shift. It's a very big shift. So I think that's really powerful. Just simple tweak in language can be super powerful. And also getting back to your vision, because there's a lot of times and a lot of activities, right, that we may not want to do, or they may be even sequential. Like I have to, oh my God, I have to do a zillion things for, you know, my business today. But then again, you know, getting back to your vision for why you're doing it can really motivate you,
right?
You know, from this place of powerlessness, of obligation, of resentment into, wow, I'm creating this. And wow, I get to learn and do and be this today.
And is that a shift you made in your life? Is this how this all came about?
Yes, absolutely. And it's really interesting, this victim bully mentality. You know, I've experienced this so much in my life, and I had to learn it so many times the hard way in order for me to really get it. When you act like a victim, you actually attract bullies. So it's not just the activities that may be coming your way, but it's the people. The people become obstacles. They become challenges because what they're doing is they are sensing your weakness and attaching themselves to it.
Explain that to me. Like, so if you are always exasperated and, oh my God, I have so much to do today, I'm never going to get it done. And I have no choices in life. I have to, I'm a mom, I'm a caretaker, I've got animals, I've got a house. And that's all you ever talk about. What could that draw into your life?
Well, so there's 2 things I want to talk about there. Just kind of the generality of, you know, the victim versus bully interaction that goes on and why they attract each other. The victim has things going on in their life that they don't like, that they don't want to have to deal with, that they're resentful about. The bully, and they go into a space of, I'm not powerful enough to take this on. The bully, on the other hand, has all these negative things going in their life as well, but they instead want to attack. Right? So they will look for a weakness. They will look for a person who can kind of match their energy, and they will attack. It's almost kind of like, so as a relationship coach, you know, the empath that's in a relationship with a narcissist.
Yes.
That's kind of the most extreme version of that interaction, right? Because the empath has a hard time building boundaries, right? And so they kind of naturally, if they don't do the work, attract somebody who is the extreme of that, somebody who wants to attack and manipulate and whatever. So that is kind of the maximum, you know, contrast there. but they do feed off one another. And to be honest, you know, as you said earlier, each and every one of us has both of those energies in us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just over time, how can we learn how to decrease both so we can be happy? Because who do you think is happier, the victim or the bully?
I don't think either one is happy.
Neither one of them.
Neither one, right? Because everyone always says a bully is kind of like misery loves company, right? So they're trying
Yeah.
to bring you, they're trying to feel stronger by controlling you.
Yep.
And in them controlling you, then you lose power. But in the end, they don't really feel good about themselves, because most of the time this is not something that they really want to do. It's just, isn't it usually a case that they were bullied themselves?
Absolutely. It's just that they've taken the information and created something different out of it than the victim has, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could have, you could have two different systems of people, right? They could have the same experiences as a child, but because of how they are naturally, they respond differently. The victim goes one direction, the bully goes the other.
So what about if you're a victim of, and I shouldn't say that, right? Victim of, right? Because you're not a victim. But let's say you have health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And they're real. I mean, they're real health issues, and it's holding you back in life. And you're feeling like, woe is me, right? I'm always sick. I can never overcome. I can never do anything that I want to do. Like, how do you get past that? Because that's real. These are real issues.
That's really, yeah. So that's a challenge. And, you know, I'll tell you, I have a few friends that, you know, either they themselves or close family members have very real big health issues. And, you know, I'll say that they find the positive in everything, because that is, they know they have to. If you don't, you go into like a downward spiral in your life, right? So kind of by necessity, and also because I believe that they just strongly desire relief, you know, from their circumstances. A good friend of mine has a daughter who's had a number of surgeries on her leg, and they've been painful, and the process has been long and grueling. And she just shared earlier today, she's like, well, we had a really tough day. We hugged it out, and then we looked for every single positive thing we could find on the way home, and they ended up coming home and feeling a lot better. So it's using your mind, because the mind is very powerful. And if that is the primary tool that you have at your disposal, especially if the physical stuff isn't going, you know, 100%, then that is something that I would recommend really latching onto as a tool when things are not going. Because, and here's the thing, people have healed themselves from physical ailments with the power of the mind.
It's amazing.
Right. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen, you know, stories and articles about this, but there have been people who've healed diseases simply by the power of like their will and their mind, and people who've, you know, come back from paralysis. Right. So
I have seen stories like that. And you know what? I personally I had a friend die a couple of months ago of brain cancer, glioblastoma. And she was the most positive person ever. She had, you know, she has triplets plus one. Through having triplets and having, you know, 4 young children, we were always like, oh, that can't possibly be true that she's that positive. If you're, yeah, you know what?
Screen was frozen for a second.
I send you the cheat sheet on how to set yourself up to do this. Did you put your phone in airplane mode?
I did.
Yeah, I forgot.
Oh. Okay.
So I sent you how to do it, and then I forgot that step. So my phone just rang, but I declined it, and then it comes back. So hopefully nobody call me. Anybody who's watching, don't call me. So anyway, through her struggle, she lasted a lot longer. She was always, everyone who walked in a room when she was sick, it was, I love you, so glad you're here. And she was amazing through the entire thing. And never, ever, more than once, I think I heard her say, why is this happening to me? And that was at a very, very bad stage. Other than that, the 2 years she suffered, she never, ever said, she's like, I guess it's my turn. I'll do my best. I get to see my children. I get to see you guys. And I was always so amazed. I'm thinking, how can I get more like that? Right?
Yeah. Oh, I just got chills.
Oh, it's such an amazing story. And then even after she passed, um, her sister-in-law is my next door neighbor. I said to like, really, did you ever hear her say anything negative her entire life, right? 56 years old, I think. And she said, I heard her complain once, and I really can't even call it a complaint. And I'm like, well, what did she say? She goes, when she was putting the triplets in the car when they were infants, plus one, right, who was a year older, she said, this is really hard. That was it.
Wow.
And now her kids are 21 and 22, or 3 or 21. And that's all anyone ever, the worst, she truly epitomized the positive, non-victim mentality always. When times got
Mm.
tough, she still always found the silver lining. So are some people born this way?
Gosh, maybe. I don't know the answer to that question. I do think that some people are born more likely to be more resilient.
Have the
So
happy
perhaps
gene?
for the happy gene, hey, you know what? I'd like some of that.
Me too.
Because I've done more work to become this way than I think, other people have, and that's okay, right?
That is okay.
Yeah. So no, but it's very interesting what you said. I mean, gosh, and it's just the power of the mind is really, really incredible. It's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that story. I love that.
Oh, no problem. I mean, it's still something that amazes me, and I want to be more like that. And, and maybe I'm a little bit more like that for some people, and some times in my life, and then other times in my life, I may shoot back a little bit more to, oh my God, how am I going to get through this day? Or how am I going to get through this week? And everyone's pulling me in all different directions. But I find the setting the boundaries to be the hardest when you're a mom, when it comes to family, and when it comes to friends who are used to relying on you. Did you, over the years, hone that skill for yourself?
I did. And so what happened with me is my victim story really came from being empathic, right? I am what you would call a highly sensitive person. And that means that I feel other people's feelings constantly. If I'm in, and the thing is, I'm extroverted, but if I'm in a room full of a lot of people, that can be very overwhelming, right?
Interesting.
And yes, and so my victim mentality was constantly being able to feel other people's feelings and not having good boundaries set up around it because nobody was teaching that, right? In addition to that, really, so that enhanced my experience because there sometimes are a lot of negative things going on around us, especially like, let's say in the workplace. Now, I was challenged with that for years, and I found bullies in, several years ago, in a job that I was in was absolutely horrible. Like, I could tell you stories about what happened, and you'd be like, that isn't real. But I
Really?
attracted that. Yes. I mean, I had a position where, I had a coworker who was constantly on me, was constantly trying to undermine my work. And because they didn't want to do the same level of work, they would try to make me look bad. And it was constant. There was a lot of, talking behind my back and all this other stuff that was going on. I don't want to bore you with it, but
no, I think everyone can relate, right? Because
yeah,
there's personal life, work life, it happens to us.
It totally happens. And I mean, I've experienced, being victimized in different ways, sexual victim, whatever, all of that stuff. But specifically at work, I mean, some of these things that were happening, you look at them and you'd be like, that isn't really happening. No, it is. It was. And it's because I attracted it. And I attracted it because I felt powerless about my situation, what I was doing, what I was making, the people around me. It was never, it was never like aligned with what I really wanted. And so I would go into work expecting to experience the negativity that I saw all around me, and it would just get worse and worse and worse. And that's that downward spiral. When you have a victim mentality, it goes down, it doesn't go up. Because you could be somewhere neutral or even kind of negative or a little bit positive, but what's going to happen is if you have the victim mentality, it will spiral down. If you have a positive attitude, it will spiral up. And eventually, see, what happened was I decided to change my mindset. And after years of struggle, deep struggle, internally and with what was going on around me, and what happened was I actually ended up manifesting a different job promotion. It was a 33% raise. And
Nice.
then within 2 years, I manifested a job that was basically double my salary just a few years prior, and it was an excellent job.
All
Like I
right, wait,
really
now
liked
you have
the
to talk
boss.
about manifesting.
Yeah, we gotta talk about manifesting. But so the manifesting comes from the mindset of like, I can actually have what I want. Not this, I can't have what I want. I have to do this. This sucks. This isn't what I want. It's the opposite. And believing that truly is what's going to get you what you want, and into energies and being around people that are more aligned with what you want because you believe it.
Okay, so manifesting sounds a little foo-foo, right? I'm all business, right? So
It is. It's
I
woo-woo.
I'm just like, okay, what do you mean? Like you have to sit there and think, but like you have to take action, right? I mean, my private
Yes.
group is called Actionable Entrepreneurs. You
Mhm.
have to, you manifesting, I do believe in, and I think it's about dreaming the big dream and then figuring out the action you need to take to get there, and not falling into, well, I can't because, and again, a younger
Mhm.
person may be like, well, my parents got divorced and I'm never going to be anything, or I couldn't finish
Mhm.
college, or because I'm sick. Like I can't, the I
Mhm.
can't, rather than how can I,
Yep.
right? That's
How
another
can I?
language, twist. It's not, I can't, it's how can I get past this obstacle, not past this problem. And so I'm always playing those word games with myself. But for some people, when you say manifest, they say, like, okay, that's bullshit. Like, it's not, like, manifesting is what? Like, what
Mhm.
exactly, step by step, would somebody do to begin the process of manifesting a change in their life?
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you what I did
Yeah.
personally, and that might help. It looks a little bit different for every person, but generally, I think these steps will work. Um, so for me, it was all about getting into, like, I would call it a high vibration, basically getting happy, just getting happy as possible, to get into like a higher frequency. And once that happened, I focused on believing that I could have what I wanted and expecting it, not from a place of like, I need you to do this for me, not from a place of neediness, just from this space of trusting the universe to give me what I wanted. And so getting into that high vibration, and so getting into that high vibration would be just like, what makes me happy? And even if I'm doing something that doesn't make me happy, how can I make it better so that I can tolerate it and get it done and it doesn't drag my vibe down? So like, maybe I have to do my taxes, but there's no one saying I can't eat chocolate and listen to my favorite soundtrack while I do my taxes, right? So there are different ways to get into a high vibration. If you focus on being happy as much as possible, that's really, really important. That's the first most important step. And then everything after that is, getting into your body. I would say, doing whatever it is you do to do that. For me, it's nature, yoga, running, dance. It really varies by person.
Mm-hmm.
But what getting into your body does is it allows you to reconnect with your intuition if you have felt separated from it in the past. And then we get to the point where you talk about action, right? Um, I take intuitive action. If I have a random idea drop in my head that isn't from my ego, and I can tell the difference from my ego and my intuition because I'm in my body and I know what the truth is.
Right.
If I get a random download and say, oh, I should go here right now. I should go to so-and-so, like the coffee shop or whatever it is, at such and such time today. That's when the magic happens. Truly.
Okay, so is it
Intuitive action.
intuitive action? So do a last minute something that you may want to do if it comes into your life and you're able to do it, like turn the car around and actually go and do it in that moment.
Yeah, even if it seems ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I need to get a
Like,
little more intuitive.
yeah. It's interesting, the magic and the possibilities of life when that happens, gosh, so many good things have happened from that. Like that job that I ended up getting that was double my initial salary years ago, it was one of those things where I was like, well, do I even bother applying for this? I already have a job that I like right now. And I applied for the job, and I told them my salary expectations without flinching. And they were like, oh, well, that's the top of our range, but we can accommodate it. And I was like,
oh, nice. I know I'm starting to read some of the comments, and Jenny said, I did that this morning. What did you do, Jenny? Did you turn the car around and go somewhere? Let me just see if I can catch up. Guys, if you're finding this conversation helpful, please share. Let me see if I can go back. I got my computer with my mouse. I've got my finger on the phone. Let me just see if I can go back.
Dropped my husband off at the airport. Oh, this is a cliffhanger.
Oh.
Yeah, I think she's still typing. But while we were talking about this, I just thought about a story that you might appreciate. This is a dating adventure. Oh, oops.
Saw a sign that said glass. Oh, we're getting it in chapters.
Okay, we're getting somewhere.
This is good.
We need to know, Jenny. Thank you for sharing. I dropped my husband off at the airport. Saw a sign that says glass. Okay. Love the hearts that are coming in. Yeah.
I know,
like
guys.
Little red heart confetti.
Thanks for showing us some love while you're sitting here listening to us. I'm going to take a sip of my wine because we know it's weekend wine down for me. This actually, since I started this series, I have to tell you, now I can't see the most recent comments. Now I don't want to know which way I'm going, up or down. Thank you for the hearts.
I want a glass ball.
To decorate for Christmas.
Oh, cute.
So you just turned the car around right then and there and went for it. See, now I'd be like, oh, I don't have time. Because sometimes, you know what? I tend to be a person who's overly scheduled out. Right? Because again, I'm business coach, block your time, right? But you do need to have some free time in there just to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to share a story with you. It's really good.
Go ahead.
About manifesting and about have tos and get tos. Okay. So I was on a trip. It was over a year ago, and this is a dating adventure. So it's kind of a fun and juicy story. I decided that I was on a trip. I was on a retreat with a bunch of ladies that I knew, and I was there with my best friend. And I woke up in the morning and I said, you know what? This is really weird and random, Nicole, but I want to go to this like real estate open house. I just feel really called. It's like, I'm not going to buy this house. I'm just in the, thanks.
Oh, Joe, yeah. Joe is asking, what's the topic? Who's your guest? Go ahead, Katie. I'm sorry to stop your story, but let's welcome in Joe. He's the one who taught me how to do these Facebook Lives like this. So we need to bring him up to speed. Joe Hecker from Design with a Z Wall, Design Wall, CEO of Design Wall. So tell him quickly, bring him up to date.
Oh, sure. Joe, I am a love and relationship coach. My name is Katie Titi, and I help singles not be single.
Oh, see that, Joe?
So, yeah. There you go. So I love topics about relationships. And this topic that we're talking about today is victim versus bully. And now we're getting into manifesting, which is really cool because it's when you go from not being a victim, not being bullied, into just being happy, what you can manifest is really amazing. Now you're going to hear the dating story. Yes. All right. So let me finish that. So I decided one day.
Joe is single.
Oh, nice. Hey, Joe. So decided one day, I was like, Nicole, this is totally random, but I really feel called to go to this real estate open house. And she's like, okay, whatever. I'm like, oh, shoot, we're kind of running late. We're only going to be able to go and be there for about 20 minutes, but you still want to go? And she was like, yeah, it's okay. So here we go. I could have just said, oh, we don't have enough time. You know, I don't really feel like driving. I'm relaxing right now. But no, we got up and we went. And what ended up happening was, it was a gorgeous house. I used to do an interior design. I used to be an interior designer.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah. And so I went to the house and I was like, this is gorgeous. So I get to experience these great views. And we get there and, we're enjoying this house, and the real estate agent's like, okay, ladies, we got to close it for about 15 minutes, just so you know. And, but he started talking to us and he's walking around the house with us. Well, anyway, towards the end of the experience, he was like, oh, well, you should, give me your email so I can, keep in touch. And, maybe I can, because at the time I was thinking maybe I would move to San Diego, and I could show you around town. So he emailed me and we ended up getting together that weekend. We had like the best date ever.
Really? Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
we did. We went from place to place to place. I don't even remember. We went to 4 or 5 different, um, venues. We ended up keeping in touch, and so we had a really great time. And I manifested this amazing date as a result of just being open and going and seeking a high vibe experience. So, yeah,
Love that story.
yeah,
Yes, I was in that.
pretty cool.
I am divorced, and I was in the dating world for quite a long time. Um, I don't have any stories like that, but I mean, I
But
think
you can make some now.
yeah. Well, I have a boyfriend now, 3 years.
Oh, nice.
But he's much more like what you're saying. Like, oh, and what did she say before? Like she just stopped and saw a glass sign and went off. Like he's like that.
Mhm.
We went to
Yeah.
Iceland and we did a driving tour and he'd be like, "Oh, look, there's a little teeny sign that says something. Let's go down that road." And I'm all uptight. I'm like, "No, we can't go down that road." But I tend to it's a good balance for me, right? Because he's a little bit more lighthearted and adventurous and lives in the moment.
Mhm.
And when I tend to get a little bit more stressed, and some of our funnest times has
Mhm.
been when we've gone off the beaten track and taken a little bit of a risk and gone somewhere. So
Absolutely. I mean,
it
some literally, when I think about it, same thing. Some of the best nights I've had in my life have been, oh, something happened that wasn't expected. It could have gone bad. We decided to do something different, and it was absolutely amazing.
right, and you can never repeat it again because it's just happened in the moment.
It did, yeah, and that's so beautiful. You guys are like that balance for each other. But I love that it's having the structure and knowing when and how to get things done, and at the same time living an inspired life. It's both. It's
Yeah,
having.
it's true that victim mentality though can really take over, and I don't have it anymore. Like I definitely had it, definitely worked on not having it. Still, I think like everyone, you said there's two sides of everybody, and sometimes we can all fall into it, kind of feeling
Yeah.
sorry for ourselves in the moment, whether you're sick or whether you're taking care of someone who needs you, and wanting to do something else. But that shift
Yeah.
of I get to do this
Hmm.
right now because life is finite, and
Absolutely.
even in that moment where it may not feel so pleasant, like you said, taking out the garbage, but I get to take out the garbage. I
Hmm.
get to clean my house and I get to cook, and at times in the future you may not get that anymore,
Hmm.
rather
Yeah.
than the I have to. I think that's very, very powerful.
Yeah. I do love that. And, I believe that, gosh, it's like, unless you're Jesus, we're always going to have little moments, of the victim or the bully come out because we get triggered and we're human beings and that's okay. But again, it's just being able to do the work so we can minimize that, because when we minimize that, we can achieve our maximum happiness. And really, that's what everyone just really wants. I believe on this planet, most people just want to be happy.
Yes, they want to be happy. All right, so let's just talk again, like concrete steps.
Mhm.
First step from if you feel like you're caught up in that
Mhm.
victim mentality, like life is happening to you and that
Mhm.
you don't have any control over what's happening to you, whether,
Mhm.
it's someone who's um, bullying you at work, putting you in an awkward position, you're not in a job that you want, you're in a relationship that sucks. You're
Yeah.
going from have to do to have to do to have to do as opposed
Mhm.
to want to do. And
Mhm.
like Joe's saying, hung up on your past. And yeah,
Yeah.
like Jenny's saying, live today and plan for tomorrow. What's the first step to breaking that cycle?
Well, and thank you for mentioning that. The first thing I want to mention, because Joseph is bringing up a really good point. Um, if you've got something deeper going on, it's important to process it. It's important to feel it so you can let it go, because we can't just spiritually bypass things and ignore the bad things that come up. If like something traumatic has happened in your life, get support. If you are, you know, having a hard time letting the past go, again, get support. That's bigger issue. But we're talking about the day-to-day things that can build up and create the victim mentality. I would say, first step is remind yourself that your life is finite. remind yourself, what is your why? What is your purpose behind the activity that you're doing? And finally, decide that you get to, that you're blessed to, and even say it out loud if that helps.
That you get to. So you could get depressed if you think about life being finite. But at the same time, you're saying use it to empower yourself. Right.
Yeah, to motivate yourself, not like, oh, my life is over. No, not like that. More of like, okay, life is finite and I gotta seize this because it matters. So maybe you could switch the order of that. Maybe the order is you focus on your vision. Just remind yourself that, hey, I have this vision and I've got a limited amount of time, whatever. And then, state that I get to.
Yeah. I mean, last night we booked, what I always go, I have to work, you got to work, you got to make money, you got to take care of the dogs, you got my kids. And then, but I want to travel, right? I want to travel. I want to do things. There's places I want to go. I guess in a little bit, everyone might have a little bit of a bucket list or a really big bucket list.
I've got a big bucket list.
I've been starting to make a bucket list. I've been writing things down. And I want to travel. So as hard as it is for me to just book something, I keep saying, book a trip every single year and go somewhere new. And last night we booked a Mediterranean cruise with friends of ours. And I was like, my normal would be like, how are we going to pull that off? Like, how am I going to manage that? And I'm just thinking, and then all of a sudden I just shifted. Like, I get to do this. I didn't even realize you put words to it. Like, I get to do this, and now is the time. And my kids even are saying to me, like, Mom, it's time for you to just, like, we're good. Like, we're getting off, and we're having a good time, and we're living our lives. It's your time. And I thought, I'm going to book this cruise, and I'll just figure out the details. So, right, and that's, like you said, find things that make you happy and actually do them. And as hard as it is, it's like, to me, it's like holding my feet to the fire, right? I booked it. Now,
back.
now I have to figure it out.
That money.
Just like Joe was saying too, and Jenny's, I think of things that happen as energy. It's true. There are things that energize you, and then there's things that suck your energy. And if you start to just say yes to more things, do you get used to, oh, now my computer just went dead. You start to get used to saying yes and having new experiences and finding the energy in that and having the guts to keep going.
Oh, are you asking about
that?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm the type of person that says yes to a lot of things, and that can sometimes get me in trouble.
Now that's the story I want to hear.
I'm a shiny object syndrome person, 1,000%. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. That's why I was saying my bucket list is like ridiculous. It's just like, I better live a really long life because I got a lot of stuff I need to do. But yeah, and actually it's really funny because the Mediterranean is number 2 on my travel bucket list. So I'm jealous and I can't wait to see what you do on your trip. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's in September and it's Italy, Greece, Croatia, and 2 other places that I don't think I've ever even heard of. But
that's amazing.
But yeah, we start out in Venice. So we're going to do an extra day in Venice. And one of my children right now is actually in Venice and I've never been. So I'm like, I want to go. Cool. Yeah, you know what? When I see people taking risks and taking chances, you know what I want to talk about? There's one specific thing I don't know if you can shed any light on. I have a lot of people in my life who never want to they want to try things new, but they have made decisions. Like I'm going to be moving. I raised my kids here in Long Island. I grew up on Long Island. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fight the fear and I'm going to move, right? I'm going to be moving to Georgia. And I have friends who are, and acquaintances, not all friends, who are like, really? You're going to move away from where you raised your kids? And I'm like, yeah, I am, because my kids will come and see me and I'll come back and see them, and I've raised them to be adults and they're doing, pretty well. They're not always well, but most of the time. Like, I don't know whether that's partly a victim mentality, or whether it's a choice that they're happy about. And sometimes I feel like it's a fuzzy boundaries. Do you know what I mean?
So you're saying that you're not sure if they're being like completely honest about the fact that they're okay with your moving, or just
No, for themselves, ever imagining a different life than they've had for the last 20 years. Like taking risks, in other words, doing something different.
Yeah, doing something different.
This feeling that this is just where they belong. And I know this is swaying a little bit off the topic, but
No, that's cool. Gosh.
Like, do you have friends who just would never, ever move, never change a job, never move away, never do anything that was a risk for a definition of themselves that they have, of like, this is just what they're meant to be, this is where they belong, this is where they always will be?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if I totally understand your question. Is it about your kids and what they are, staying where they've been?
No, it's about other people.
Yeah.
Who don't take risks.
Oh, yeah.
And try something new, because the definition they have of themselves is that they will always be, this is where they're meant to be. They're never meant to be anywhere else.
Right. Yeah, I do think there is some correlation there. Because sometimes people like staying in their comfort zone. It can be, what that can really mean is I'm really too afraid to go and do the things that interest me. Like, I'm so afraid to do X, Y, Z that I just want to stay here in a box.
Right.
And so I do think that is kind of it could be an extreme version of a victim mentality. Although, that being said, there are some people that just don't seek to have the kind of experiences that, like, say, you and I want to have.
That's what I'm thinking.
Travel doesn't necessarily interest everyone on the same level as it does you and I. So I think it could be either.
Okay.
I think it depends on the person and what their goals and aspirations are. For some people, it's a victim mentality, yes, and I think you would know. I think you would know because they're the type of person, like we were talking about, that complains or whatever. But some folks just don't seek to have the same kind of experiences.
Yeah, and I always said, you know what, I knew friends who were very happy being stay-at-home moms, and I was always so envious of them because I always had that drive to work also. And Joe was just saying, and I know this story because I've heard Joe tell it before, like he just packed a bag one day, shut his door, and left, and went on to his next adventure. And that, I think, I'm thinking it's more about being a risk taker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and some people really love risk. I'm definitely, I got a lot of fire in my belly.
Yeah, and I think I associate it with victim mentality because it's like, well, I can't leave my kids.
Right.
Or I can't leave my parents. Or I can't leave my friends. And I don't, if the can't word is what I think I get stuck on. Is it can't as a victim because you are needed, or your perception is that you're needed? That they can't survive without you? Or is it that's just your wishes and that's okay?
Right. So I think it would be a combination of, what are your priorities? How often do you want to see your friends and your family and whatever else? And if you say, okay, well, I want to see them like 3 times a year, and say, oh, but that's difficult because of X, Y, Z, then you're getting into victim. Because guess what? You can hop on a flight for however much amount of money. And so the excuses might be time, money, energy, as far as making a visitor concerned. But let me tell you something. I moved across the country, right? I left my family and many of my friends behind, and I just knew that it was a soul calling, and I trusted the universe. So I think, again, it really depends on your priorities. If you want to see your family, once a week or something like that, maybe a move isn't feasible.
Right.
But if you're more flexible in your time, I think it's all about what your priorities are. And again, if you are, not doing something because you anticipate it being difficult, then it could be victim. But if you think it might be unreasonable, like, oh, I'm not going to fly back, 6 hours each way once a week to see my family, then it just becomes a big time suck. And is it really your priority to see them as often as it? Does that make sense?
It doesn't. It does, but my mind's fighting it at the same time, because I think my number one priority are my kids.
Yeah.
But I know that moving, I'm going to have more money to fly them to see me. With
Yeah.
technology these days,
Mm-hmm.
I want them to live their life, and I don't want them to worry about mom.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to be the victim of my kids went on and lived their life and mom's just sitting here waiting for a visit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to say, you know what? You guys are doing great. You're starting to live your life. I'm only a flight away, a phone call away, a Skype
Yeah.
away, and I will
Absolutely.
have more, free finances to bring you to me or to come to you, and I will always be there when you need me. And I didn't want to fall into that victim of my kids moved away, they have their life, I'm not part of it, and
Yeah.
that waiting. So I think, besides for financial reasons, because I live in New York, so going to Atlanta is going to free up my finances quite a bit, and not
Yeah.
needing a big house anymore. It
Mm-hmm.
was, I think, partly the fear of not getting into that victim mentality.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Interesting. So
De-
motivating by, yeah, I love that.
Derailing the victim mentality, because I could see being a mom for 24 years that starting to be like, oh, they all have a life. And like, I want them to be independent, and I want them to know that I'm moving on and being happy in my life. And I think it's because that's what my parents did. My parents, three daughters, all got married within 18 months. And they didn't want to sit there and go, now we're waiting for you guys to visit us. And they got up and they moved to Vegas,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I love, okay, I love this too, because it's like, that's such a deep level of self-love where you can say, okay, you guys are all set. Mom gets to do what she wants to do now. When you are taking care of yourself on that deep level of like, okay, I'm following a soul calling or whatever
Yes.
it is, move, you become this even better version of yourself to everyone who knows you, including your kids. So I think following your heart and your desire is the ultimate act of love to yourself and to everyone else who knows you. So I think that's great. That's really cool.
I think that was powerful what you said. You know what? And when it comes to, if you feel like you're a victim on the job,
Yeah.
if you feel like you're a victim in a relationship, and I guess how would they identify if they're a victim? Like if they're just not sure, am I a victim or am I looking into it too much? Or, like I think people doubt their perception of their situation
Mm-hmm.
and they get confused. So is there a way people can say, like maybe I am stuck as a victim here and I've been making excuses for years.
Yes.
Any tips on how you would recognize that?
I would say notice the conversations you're having. To anyone watching this who's wondering, watch the conversations you're having both with yourself and other people. So one way would be if, for example, you have people around you trying to provide solutions. Maybe they have suggestions. Maybe it's even unsolicited advice, which can be annoying, right? But if you notice yourself saying, yeah, but,
Oh,
that's big, because that's saying, okay, yes, I see what you're saying, but I have all these other excuses and things that I can't possibly overcome. You are more powerful than your circumstances. But see, a victim doesn't know that. The
okay.
victim,
Say that again. You are more powerful.
you are more powerful than any of your circumstances. But see, a victim
Hmm.
doesn't see it that way. The victim doesn't know that. Yes, you may have all of these things that you can't control, variables, this and that, but at the end of the day, if you can still be you despite of all of those things, that's when you've stepped into your power and overcome the victim. When you know that, that's when you know that you've overcome it. But when you're still in victim, you're saying, yeah, but you're saying, oh, I can't, I have to. Even saying those words, right now makes me feel, right? Think about it. Say them out loud and see how you feel. It's like, it's this energy sucking experience. And that again creates that downward spiral. So saying things like, yeah, but I can't, I have to, any words that you're noticing going on in your environment, in your conversations, in yourself and others, that are obligatory. that are resentful, that are coming from a place of powerlessness or not powerful enough to overcome, anything of that energy will tell you that you're a victim.
Oh my God, so many things are going through my head. I mean, again, I do hear a lot of I can't.
Yeah.
Right? Not from me. It's from other people. I can't because.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way out of this. Like, this is
Yeah.
just my lot in life. This is just what I'm going to. Oh, they're still
Yeah.
talking about my move. Thanks, guys. I'm actually good with my move.
We're
But I'll go
excited
back.
about the move.
I'm
Yeah.
excited about my move. Jenny said by moving, you're also
Mm-hmm.
changing your environment. When they come to visit you, they meet you in your new place and you will be different. And I can't see the rest of the message because of the way my phone's reading it. And, it is funny because, like your children change, moms
Mm-hmm.
change too. And they start to see you more as a person, not
Mm-hmm.
just as the mom, right? They actually start to see your personality. So moving a person from, well, I have my mother living with me, I have my grandchild living with me, I have this and I can, and I just don't have any time, and there's no way that right now I can do anything different than I'm doing. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So yeah, that person is in what I would call scarcity. They have a scarcity of time, energy, money, whatever. So the abundance energies are time, energy, and money. And a victim believes that they don't have one or all of these things going on in order to accomplish XYZ. But see, the other thing that the victim doesn't like doing is asking for help because they don't trust. So you may be like, so someone might be complaining about, well, I have to take care of this person, I got to take care of that person. You're talking about, it's almost like this mother energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how come that person isn't asking for support? Or, well, I don't know anyone. Well, why don't you know anybody? Because you're not putting yourself out there. You're not trusting, you're not stretching, you're not expanding. And the victim won't do that. They'll shrink instead of expand. See, when you expand, all these other opportunities come in,
So in expanding, it's asking for help, giving other people in your world responsibility, maybe saying no.
Yes.
No, I love the word no. I say no all the time. No, I can't do that.
So do I. I've become very familiar with the word no, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Because as I mentioned before, this whole thing about like the shiny object syndrome, I'm a very enthusiastic person, but it's like knowing when to focus and prioritize and really be in tune with what you need and what's going to serve and what isn't is huge too. So yeah, victim mentality, they might say yes, but really want to say no. And that's when that comes up, that energy of resentment, of obligation.
Right.
Someone ask someone with a victim mentality, hey, can you pick me up on XYZ day? And the person says yes. And they think, oh, crap. In order to pick you up, I have to rearrange XYZ. I got to get up at X time, or whatever it is that they have to shift around or they have to sacrifice within themselves to get that thing done instead of just saying no.
Right. Right. And before Joe had said, try something, Joe, you could say it again, something about like trying to say, say yes to a lot of things, but at the same time, say no to a lot of things, right? Say no. I love the word no. You know what? Are you going somewhere? No. And I'm like, no. And they're like, why not? I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to. It's not something that I'm going to enjoy. And I personally right now have other priorities, so that's what I'm going to do. But if I am going to enjoy it, I say yes.
Yes, I love that, Nancy. And what I love about what you just said is that you were totally honest. You're totally honest about what you're saying. See, so many people, and again with the victim mentality, they'll say yes or they'll say no. They'll say, "Oh, no, I can't because," and they'll make up a lie.
I know.
They'll say, "Oh, I'd love to, but," well, you know what? If you wouldn't love to, you wouldn't love to. Just be honest. You know what I mean? Then, it's getting your space, your environment, your people, the universe clear on what you're available for and what you're not available for. So maybe you say no to one thing that you know you're not going to be interested in, and you say that, you never receive a request again from that person. You don't even have to spend the energy of saying no as often, because people are already aware what you're available for.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of saying no.
So let's summarize this, right? It's just about 5:30 now.
Oh, gosh.
I know it went quick.
Yeah.
It's being authentic to what
Mm-hmm.
you really want to do and what you want to be, and not accepting anything different. Because when you accept things different, that means you're doing everything to please other people and
Yes.
could be turning yourself into the victim.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then spiraling into that victim mentality, right?
Yes, I love that. Mm-hmm.
Right? Be
Totally.
yourself, say yeah. Yeah. And of course, this means, like, I'm still considerate. I'm sure you are still considerate of those who you love. But in the end, you're not going to put yourself into an uncomfortable position or do something that's really against your values. You
Absolutely.
just say no.
It's like, you know, again, with the victim mentality, the people pleasing and the self-sacrifice. But see, what does that bring in? More of the things that you don't want. So the authenticity, it's like you said, being considerate, but again, it's having that strength and that self-trust and that bravery to be authentic, to show up powerfully and authentically and lovingly, and still saying no, or I'm not aligned with this, or I'm not available for this. That is super powerful, and that will bring in more of what you do want.
Right. And it takes practice, guys. So
yes.
for those of you who are watching now, and those of you who are going to watch later, getting out of the victim mentality and stepping into your own power and your own self-abundance, right? And manifesting the life and the business that you want takes a lot of inner work.
Yes.
Right? And asking for help and saying no, and sometimes saying yes to things last minute where your best moments will happen. It's really such a combination. So Katie, tell people how they can find you if they need you for this love and relationship coaching that you do, which I think is awesome.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And thank you so much for having me today. This has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. You can reach me at katietiti.com or info@katietiti.com if you want to set up, time to chat. I would love to support you in your dating and relationship goals.
Love that. I think you're fabulous. I wish you all the best, and we will be in touch. So I'm Nancy Ganzakoffer, business coach, and it's weekend wind down, and it has actually been your cheers. It's this series for me has been helpful to me to make me shut down my computer at 4:30 every day and enjoy myself, have a great conversation with somebody so knowledgeable, all different people every Friday. So thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for watching. And don't forget to share, because as Joe says, sharing is caring. So thanks, Katie. I will talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.